Good afternoon, and here we are again. This is a short video and it's to do with stretching paper. So the first thing is I've got a ruler, a pair of scissors, pencil, a brush and some water activated tape, or it could be also called gum tape. And then I've got a tub here at the side of me, one big tub which has got water in it and it's big enough to hold the paper. And then I've also got here some kitchen roll. Right, let me just move this chair out of the way. So the first thing I want to do is I want to measure all the way around this paper and put some little marks, 1.5 centimetres. Now the reason I'm doing this is so that when I put the water activated tape on, it's going to be equal all the way around, which makes things a bit easier when I'm planning a painting. Okay, so all the way around, mark off 1.5 centimetres with a pencil and a ruler. Okay, there we go, and around this side. Now you can put your drawing on the paper before you submerge it in the water if you like, or you can just put you can either draw freehand or even put it on with some trace down or other means once you've stretched the paper. I usually stretch 2 or 3 sheets together so that I've got plenty to be going on with. Okay, so there we go. So all the way around here I have marked some little marks and they're all 1.5 centimetres. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut some of this water activated tape, or as well as it can be called is gummed tape. So it's not actually sticky, but once it's got water on it then it becomes sticky. So what I'm going to do is I need to measure, I need 2 short lengths and 2 long lengths. So cut 1 short length and then I can just do another one same size. So just measure that with that one, cut that down. So then I've got 2 short sides which put out of the way, and then I will need 2 long sides to cover these sides, so just a little bit over on each side. Okay, again 2 of those. Okay, they're all ready. So pop them over there on the side because I don't want any water getting on them just yet. Roll the tape up and move that out of the way. That's there. So the next thing I want to do is get the paper. Now when I stretch my paper, I usually use, I've just run out at the minute, but it's usually done on this. This is one I did this morning. And this is on gator board. Now gator board, you can get it from any good art supply, but Jackson's do it, different sizes, and it's got like a polystyrene or foam thing, but it's with a resin top, so they do last a long time and they're absolutely perfect for stretching paper. As you can see, this is stretched and dried out, and it's just nice and tight, and that's ready to work on. Okay, but I haven't got any, all the others have got paper and I'm working on them, so at the minute I've got this board here. It's a bit heavier, but it does take it. Now if you use a wooden board, then it will need to be sealed properly so that none of the wood colouring comes through. Right then, so now I'm going to put the paper into the water, so it fits into this tub just right. So I've only got enough water to submerge it in, to cover it. Okay, so pressing it down. Now I'll leave it it varies on the paper, to be quite honest. Now this is Archer's paper, so it's cold press, 300 GSM. So I wouldn't leave, I mean, there is no way I would leave any paper longer than 5 minutes, usually less. I mean, I usually leave it for 2 to 3 minutes. That's plenty of time to get the water in, because what you're doing is you're getting the water in so the paper becomes loose and it can be put on the board. Then we secure it down with the tape, so then as the paper dries and it contracts back in, it becomes quite taut, so that when you put water on, when you're doing like a wet in wet on watercolour, you don't get that cockling effect that you would get if you didn't do this. And then what happens is, where the paper cockles and you get those ravines, that's where the watercolour gathers, so your colours across the piece that you're working on aren't correct, and it can spoil a painting. So if you do, and with my advice, I would stretch your paper. Then that way, when you do a wet in wet project, you're not going to have any problems, and your colours are going to be coming out a lot cleaner and a lot more even across the surface. So, right, so just giving this, turn it over. Okay, I think that's enough. So now I'm just going to let all the excess water drip off. Give it a quick shake. Okay. Make sure I've got the little marks that I put on her facing me. And then pop this on the board that I'm going to use. Make sure I've got enough space all the way around to fit the tape. There we go. Okay, so we've got that on. I'm just going to give it a quick, that's it. So now I'm going to get the tape, the ruler and that out of the way, get the brush, and then what I'm going to do is get some water, some clean water, and then if you put it onto the shiny side of the tape, the back of the tape, you'll feel it becomes very gooey, and it's like you say, gummy. It's very okay. So to make sure you cover the whole of the tape, take it and then line it up with the marks that you made on the paper earlier. So just make sure it's lined up with those 1.5 centimetre marks. So then we know we've got a nice, and then firmly press that down. Press it down where the edge of the paper is there. Okay, make sure that is nice and secure. Now some people, once they've got the tape on, they do go around with staples as well. I don't personally do that, but some people do. And it just gives them that little bit of extra security in case the tape, something happens and the tape doesn't adhere as it should. But 9 times out of 10 it does. So okay, so that's the second smaller piece. So I'm sticking that at the top, and what I'm going to do is line that up with the marks that I made earlier. Again, just press that down firmly so that you can see. Whoops, don't want to zoom in that way. There we go. Okay, so press that down. Okay, so now I've got the 2 long pieces, so I'll get one of those, get my brush and spread it out with plenty of water. Okay, so that's on there. Put some down here at the bottom. There we go. I might cut these a little bit too long, but we'll see. Again, line them up with the marks, the pencil marks, so you know you've got a nice level. Whoops, the tape can be quite, so just make sure you press that down. Try not to move the tape. So if you get a cloth or piece of kitchen roll, press down firmly. Okay. I'm going to cut this little excess off here. I've cut it a little bit too long. That's it. Last piece, and then I'm going to secure it down. Give it a good firm rub all the way around. Okay. Again, line that up. Okay. Press that down. Oops. Cut any excess off. There we go. Now get a cloth or some kitchen roll and then gently, really push that tape down onto the board and onto your paper. Okay, just rub it down like that. You'll see the edge of your paper. I just run my finger down there to make sure that we don't get any air trapped in there. Okay. Same up this side. Okay. Now then, see that rising a bit there, so I don't know what's happened, but I'm just going to stick a bit more water down. There we go. It is warm today, so it's going to dry very quickly. There we go. So pull that down as firmly as I can. Take the water off there, any excess water off the paper. So you may see a little bit of lifting now, and then what happens is as soon as the paper dries it contracts, and then that's when it becomes. So that you can see there are a couple of sort of where the water is, and then that's what I had on there this morning. And then when it dried, as you can see, you get a nice, perfectly flat piece of paper, nice watercolour paper, ready to start a piece of work. Okay, so now what you have to do is leave that flat. Personally, try and leave it overnight, just to make sure that it dries out totally and completely. But make sure it's dried on flat. Don't stand it upright, because the water will move and obviously it won't stretch like it's supposed to do. Whereas if it's laid flat, everything will stretch and work out fine. Okay, so that's the stretchy paper. And as I say, some people, it's personal preference, but some people may want to just put some staples around the edge. Personally, I don't bother. Okay, so that's it for that, and then just leave it overnight and then come back tomorrow and it should be all nice and dry and tight. Okay, as I say, I would recommend you do this on any paper that's 300 GSM or less. I mean, even at 640 you can do it as well, but yeah, definitely at 300. Okay, right, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.